Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is long awaited and highly requested, and I'm finally getting around to doing my holy grail foundations for oily skin. Slight disclaimer, these are my favorites for my skin type. You might have oily skin and say, geez, I tried that foundation and actually it was awful on my skin. So just because I have oily skin and you have oily skin doesn't necessarily mean that my choices or my favorite foundations will work for you, so just bear that in mind. Also, some of these foundations might work amazingly well for dry skin, which I will kind of target and touch upon too when I am discussing them. Some of them are actually more suitable for drier skin and they just seem to work on my skin very well, and some are suitable for people with combo skin, and again they just work for me. So I'm just going to give you a little lowdown of my favorites and you can kind of take from it what you want. I'm actually going to start off by talking about the foundation I'm wearing today, which is the LA Girl Pro Coverage High Definition Illuminating Foundation. So you're going to say to me, Aisling, it's illuminating? What are you talking about for oily skin? That's not going to work for me. I have used this foundation for almost a year, I would say, and it works very well on my skin. Like, you can see it on my skin today. It's quite full coverage, I will say that about it. It applies like a dream. It looks great on my skin. I feel like it's really fresh on my skin, and it holds back my oils. Even though it's illuminating, I feel like it gives like a radiant appearance, more so than kind of like a dewy appearance. I definitely don't like dewy foundations, but I do like radiant foundations, or foundations that make you look like you're illuminating from the inside out. And I think that the LA Girl Pro Coverage Foundation works like a dream for me. I buy this foundation off Beauty Bay. I'm gonna pick up a couple more bottles of this because I'm almost out of this. I get the shade Natural, and if I don't mention any of my shades in the foundations that I'm talking about today, I will write them down below, because some foundations I have a couple of shades. That's the first one that I highly recommend, and if you have oily skin, give it a go. See what you think of it. It's really affordable. It's drugstore. You can't really be going wrong. A holy grail foundation for me for years has been the Estee Lauder Double Wear. I haven't worn this foundation on its own. I usually mix it with other foundations, I'd say in about a year, and the only reason is because of the SPF in it. Now, someone did tell me recently that they've taken the SPF out of it, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a new wear test on the new formula. I'm going to buy it and I'm going to see what I think of it for you guys. I promise you, if you're looking for a high coverage, long lasting foundation, search no further than the Estee Lauder Double Wear. It is incredible. Like, your skin looks amazing for hours and hours and hours on end. This is not a foundation you have to blot with, you have to top up, nothing like that. When I was in college, like in my early days of college, when I first discovered this and spent like all my life savings on this foundation, I wondered why people wore anything other than this on nights out, because it's the only thing that holds up. And obviously, since learning more about foundations, I've kind of steered away from, not away from it, like that's the wrong kind of thing to say, but I've just discovered other things and forgotten about it. Definitely need to revisit this and do a video on it, but it is a holy grail foundation for me. I just can't wear it that much on nights out because I get like awful flashback. Like, I have a white cast all over my face when I wear this, so that's the only downside to it. But I'll check out the new formula and I'll keep you guys posted. We'll do a video on that very, very soon. I 100% recommend to any of you thinking about getting it to go and get a sample, try it out. This foundation is probably the only one, well, there's actually another one in this list that kind of can tend to get a bit cakey, so just be very careful with it. A beauty blender is definitely the way to go when applying this. I feel like it reduces the cakiness, but just be careful of that when you are applying it, that it can just get a little bit overkill. The next foundation I want to talk about is almost gone. Like, I've nearly used it all up. I bought this a year ago, so I don't know if it's a good idea to keep foundation for a year, but I was using it all year long. And this is the CoverGirl Outlast Stay Fabulous. This is the 3-in-1. I'm in the shade 855. I bought this in New York when I was there at Christmas time last year, and like I said, it's almost used up. This foundation is holy grail status for me. Probably one of my favorite drugstore foundations. I use it so sparingly because I know I can only get it in the US, so I might just go onto Ulta and just make an order and use like a shipping service to get it here to Ireland, because it is absolutely incredible. This is more tailored for combo skin, but it works fabulous on my skin at keeping my oils at bay, keeping my skin looking fresh and radiant, not cakey. It just covers everything I need to and still remains as natural as possible on the skin. But I adore this for oily skin. I highly recommend it to those of you guys who are looking for a new foundation. It's very, very affordable. Definitely check it out. I 100% recommend it to those of you with oily skin, and if you've combo skin, check it out as well. The next foundation is a very controversial one, and I don't mean controversial in the way like people say like they hate hate the brand or anything like that. I just mean like the formula of this foundation. You either love it or hate it, and it's the Marc Jacobs Remarkable Foundation. This foundation takes no prisoners. You are going to be Loctite with foundation. It has every single tendency to go cakey on you. Like, it can look like a hot mess if you go overkill with it. So just use a really light hand. I've had this particular bottle for over a year. Again, I don't know how long you should be keeping foundations. Probably not that long, so maybe it needs to go. But I'm just going to do a little dot there and just see how much this spreads out. I don't know if you can see that there, but this foundation, a little bit of it goes a long way. Probably spread that around my entire hand and cover my entire hand. The first time I used this, I was like, oh, dot, 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 dot all over my face. And I was like, oh, wow, we have a cake face going on. Party, everyone, there's cake for all. It was just way too much, way too much foundation. I really enjoy mixing this with lighter coverage foundations, just to kind of give it more of a happy medium mixture on my face. But if I'm going on a night out, this is one of my favorite foundations to wear. There's no SPF in it, I don't think. I don't know. I don't think there is. I'm in the shade number 44 Golden Medium, and this works quite nice on my skin. It's tiny, 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 tiny bit yellow for me. You can probably see it on the back of my hand, but on day to day, it's pretty okay. But in general, the foundation is amazing. It is remarkable. The next foundation is another one that's up there with the Holy Grail status for me, and it is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus foundation. This is a €6 foundation, maybe even less. It's so inexpensive. It's an amazing foundation. Now, the only complaint that I ever hear about this foundation is actually on the scent of it. Some people say they can smell paint off it. I will definitely agree, it does have a little bit of an overpowering scent. It's not something that really annoys me, and I absolutely detest scents because I suffer with migraines, so certain things can really trigger them. This doesn't, for whatever reason. I don't know why. I really enjoy the formula of this foundation. It keeps me oil free for as long as possible, and I sometimes might have to blot with this in the summertime, sometimes, but in general I can get away with this for at least 8 hours. And I think once you get past the 8-hour mark, you're kind of on the home stretch. I mean, that's an average day at work, a day at school, a little bit less. You know, it's a pretty decent amount of wear to get from a foundation. If you're going on a night out, you'll generally wear it for maybe less than 8 hours. If you're going to a wedding, you might wear it for a little bit more, but you can tend to get away with this for the between about 8 to 10 hours. If you want to see a wear test on this, I think I have a wear test on nearly all of these foundations, so I will link them down below as well, because it might help you guys a little bit more. So the next foundation is the Clinique Beyond Perfecting Foundation and Concealer. This is a 2-in-1 foundation, and when this first came out, I wasn't really sure about it because it has this huge like doe foot wand, and I was kind of like, oh, don't know how I feel about this. The shade of this is actually a little bit yellow for my skin as well. I don't know if you can see that there, just like a tad bit yellow. You can get away with this, and once I put concealer and everything on, you won't even be able to tell. This foundation is in the shade 8 Golden Neutral. This foundation is a pretty decent price and a very good coverage foundation. Like, you get medium to high coverage with this. It lasts all day on my skin, and whenever I wear this on camera, actually, out of all those foundations that I've mentioned today, this is the one that I always get compliments from you guys from. You're always like, oh, your skin looks really, really nice. The other foundation you do compliment me on is the LA Girl Pro Coverage foundation when I wear that one as well. Anybody who's tried it, who's oily as well, have said that you enjoy it too. I, again, don't know if this is particularly suitable for oily skin, but it just works very well on my oily skin, and it lasts very long on the skin. It doesn't fade or go patchy on me. The first time I used this, I wasn't overly keen on it, but the more I started to use it, the more I started to enjoy it, and this is actually my second purchase of this foundation. I enjoy it a lot. And the next one is an oldie but a goodie. This has been with me for a very, very, very long time. It's the L'Oreal Infallible. I also do love the L'Oreal True Match, but I didn't include it in this video because I think you have like enough foundations here for my holy grails. But the L'Oreal True Match has been with me since like day dot. I still love it. I love it so much, but I just wanted to include one L'Oreal foundation, and if I had to pick between the two, I'd go with the Infallible 24 Hour. This is the first foundation that I ever tried from the drugstore that I noticed really, really lasted on my skin whilst giving me good coverage. The True Match is a little bit less coverage in it, but the advantage that the True Match has over this one is the shade range in the True Match is fantastic. There is something for every skin type. I'm W6 in that foundation, just if you're wondering. This foundation was designed for me. Am I joking? But it works incredibly well on my skin type. It looks gorgeous on. It's so flawless. This is a foundation that I used to wear to work because it was only like €10 a bottle, and I used to, like, you know the way, you don't want to spend too much on a foundation for work, especially when nobody sees you, you're locked away in an office. But I just wanted something obviously for when I was seeing clients and something just to kind of look presentable. This foundation worked really, really well, and it was a long lasting foundation, so I didn't have to top it up or worry about it all day in work. I absolutely love this foundation, and the first time I noticed that this foundation worked really, really well is when me and Kira used to go out with Jimmy and Ray on a Friday for drinks after work, and I would be coming home in the wee hours of the morning, because you know the way you go for one after work and then turns into like the whole night. But this foundation would still be on my face when I'd be getting ready to go to bed, so it lasted way over the 12-hour mark, and I really recommend this. The second last foundation I want to talk to you about is another high-end one, and this is from MAC. This is the MAC Studio Fix Fluid. It has been with me since the day dot of trying foundations, so I think I've been using this as long as the Estee Lauder Double Wear, as long as my True Match foundation, since I was about 18 or 19. This was one of those foundations that I wanted. Everyone talked about it on YouTube, and I was really into the YouTube game back then. When I was like 18, I was like loving it, and I was buying things that everybody recommended, whatever I could afford, I suppose. But this foundation was amazing on my skin, really suitable for my oily skin. So the only thing I will say about this foundation is the shade range is not amazing, because I find like some of the shades pull either very pink or very yellow. I'm in the shade NC37. Sometimes I'm 35. I go between 35 and 37. I do enjoy this foundation. It is very full coverage. Again, can tend to be a bit cakey if you slap it on like I used to. So just be careful with how much you apply of it. Use a beauty blender, something like that as well. Will just kind of like shear it out and make it look a little bit more natural. It also lasts an incredible amount of time on the skin. I don't feel like I need to powder too often during the day using this. I feel like I can get away with this for probably the 8 to 10 hour mark without it looking too oily. It would probably be my least recommended out of all the high-end foundations I've talked about today, though. That's the only thing. And it's really strange because this used to be like my be-all end-all foundation. I just don't feel like I reach for it that much anymore. The reason why I feel like I don't reach for this as much as I used to is because it can break me out. So I like to try and stay away from foundations that tend to break me out. This one can if I use it for maybe like 2-3 days on the trot, but it's okay for like a night out or whatever. Just that's something to be aware of. That's just my skin. It might not break you out. I'm just letting you guys know. And the final foundation I want to talk about today is the Rimmel Lasting Finish 24-hour foundation. 25-hour foundation, sorry. I don't know, because there's 25 hours in the day now. I presume it's like trying to hint at it like, oh, it can even last past the whole day, you know. Anyway, this foundation, my shade is in 203 True Beige. I first tried this foundation, I'd say about 2 years ago maybe, and I'm still using it to this day. Maybe 3 years ago. It's been a while. I've had it a while in my collection. I really love it. It's the one with the red lid that I recommend, and everyone asks me what Rimmel foundation I recommend. It's the one with the red lid. I don't know why people associate me with the Rimmel foundation, but even when I was in work, people used to be like, what foundation is it that you like from Rimmel? And I used to be like, the one with the red lid. Foundation is incredible for coverage. It's quite full coverage. I will say that about it. So again, this one can tend to go a bit cakey on you if you apply too much, so just be careful with how much you apply. The longevity of this is incredible. So I discovered the L'Oreal one before I discovered this one, and after I used this one I was like, oh my god, the drugstore has amazing foundations. When I first started my channel, I used to only think that high-end foundations were the way to go and they were the only way you could get a good flawless base, but now I know how wrong I was, and you can definitely get amazing coverage and amazing longevity from more affordable brands. So definitely check out your local drugstore. For oily skin, this is a dream. I don't think I have anything else to really say about that foundation or any of them in particular. They're just like my top picks. I have a lot, I know guys, but I do love foundations. Actually become my favorite thing to try from makeup, and that's really, really strange. I used to be all about lipstick, and now I'm like, oh, new foundation out, I want to pick that up, I want to try it out, and I'm like trying out loads of new foundations lately. I have 2 reviews actually coming up for drugstore foundations. One is the new Maybelline one. Well, it's actually an old Maybelline one, but it's like been repackaged and reformulated. And then the other one is a Bourjois Healthy Mix foundation. So keep an eye out for those reviews because they could possibly turn into Holy Grail foundations, who knows. And I do like to test out drugstore foundations all the time. So if you guys want me to test out any foundations in the future, let me know. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video and maybe some of the foundations I recommended to you guys today they are of help. Like I said, all my shades and where to buy the foundations will be linked down below. I think that's all I need to say. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I love you guys, and I will talk to you in my next video. Mwah. Bye guys.